Plug your coordinates into the terminal line, 7th Avenue and 42nd Street. On a standard New York night, the corporate gatekeepers want you to see nothing but a routine municipal grid. They want you to look at the wet asphalt, the rusted fire escapes, the grimy brownstones, and think it's just city decay. But they're lying to you. The baseline down here was rewritten before the concrete was even poured. The camera is an unseen entity tonight, a drifting, spectral, weightless lens gliding low over the rain-slicked brickwork. Look close at those windows, eerie cold blue and warm amber lighting cutting through a thick layer of rolling street steam. Behind the glass, you see them human silhouettes performing strange, erratic, panicking movements. A neighborhood of hidden rooms, and every single one of them is fracturing under a supernatural calculus. The entity makes its choice, diving sharp toward a third-story window casing. It glides seamlessly right through the glass pane, stepping across the threshold into a pitch-black, decaying bedroom. The air in here is freezing, sub-zero energy pulling the light straight out of the room. In the center of the floorboards, an older male priest in dark robes holds a heavy wooden crucifix forward. His hands are shaking. His voice is a desperate growl of Latin incantations, but the magic doesn't care about his faith. Under a single, harsh, cold, white spotlight cutting through thick, rolling smoke, a pale figure floats rigidly 3 feet in the air. The body arches violently upward at a horrific, impossible angle, the spine snapping taut as the mattress is torn to shreds. Look at the face under the spotlight, an ash-pale gray complexion, a complex, pulsing web of dark subsurface veins crawling across the jaw. The eyes are wide open, completely dilated, pitch-black irises with zero white remaining, locked in a terrifying glare. Viscous, ink-black smoke pours from the mouth, pooling along the ceiling like living oil. The priest slams his hand down, a blinding shockwave of brilliant white light explodes from the forehead. The entity pulls back, the room goes black. But the ritual was just the opening card in a very dirty game. We're leaving that apartment behind, but the force doesn't dissipate. It just relocates. The camera glides down the exterior brickwork, cutting at high velocity through a shattered window pane into a large, dark living room down the street. Chaos is already broken out. Local gravity is completely warped. A wooden coffee table, scattered book pages, and a shattered ceramic lamp are violently lifted into mid-air, spinning and smashing against the walls in a kinetic shockwave. In the corner, a terrified family is cringing together against the peeling wallpapered wall in absolute shock, shielding their faces as their household is torn to pieces. The dense, roaring cloud of midnight black smoky vapor condenses from the ceiling, shaping itself into a massive, wispy, demonic head with glowing crimson eyes. It lunges directly. The spectral lens pulls backward rapidly, escaping the living room chaos. It banks sharp left down the exterior brick brownstone wall, skimming past rusted metal fire escapes, before diving straight through a narrow, grimy window pane into the third apartment on the block. Welcome to the kitchen, a narrow, claustrophobic corridor where local gravity has completely collapsed. Open cabinet doors swing upward into fixed, impossible angles. Ceramic plates, silverware, and a steaming metal coffee pot slowly lift off the formica counters, floating rigidly toward the plaster ceiling. In the lower frame, a terrified young man is sliding down the grimy tiled wall, hyperventilating in absolute shock, shielding his head with his arms as glass cups and metal utensils drift eerily around his silhouette. The center of the ceiling tears wide open into a jagged vertical rift, a spatial anomaly defying every law of physics. Thick, heavy, viscous plumes of midnight black smoky vapor and dense dark mist begin actively leaking upward from the floorboards, getting violently sucked into the ceiling void. But the supernatural storm doesn't leave a clean slate when it passes through the grid. It leaves evidence. The unseen camera floats out of the darkness and tracks slowly down the exterior brick wall, passing under the frantic reflections of flashing blue and red emergency police cruiser lights from the asphalt below. Officer Dave, a battle-hardened, real-world 45-year-old New York City police detective, steps into the wreckage. He's wearing his dark blue utility uniform and a black tactical vest, his face hardened with a serious expression. He grips a heavy black tactical flashlight, slicing a bright yellow cone of light through the dense layer of hanging dust to map the overturned wooden furniture and piles of ash. Dave aims his flashlight directly onto the center wall, tracing the scorched wallpaper. The bright yellow light beam hits the exposed brickwork, revealing a massive geometric warlock rune pattern scorched deeply into the bricks. The masonry is fractured from extreme heat, and the internal lines of the rune are pulsing with a faint, residual neon orange warlock warmth. Dave leans down over an overturned wooden table, a circular pool of thick, viscous ink black liquid shadow. It completely defies the flashlight's illumination, absorbing the light, refusing to reflect, executing a slow, undulating breathing animation like a living supernatural element. Suddenly, the entire room's environment shifts. The flashing blue emergency strobes outside the broken window erupt with violent, rapid speed. The police radio dispatch bursts into a loud, distorted, static squeal as the officers look toward the glass in panic. The grid is destabilizing, the evidence bleeding, and Officer Dave is starting to realize the precinct has no codes to stop what's coming next. Fonda Cash steps out from the deep crimson shadows. There's no badge on her chest. She's an independent, street-smart neighborhood working woman with voluminous 1980s blonde hair wrapping her thick, plush leopard print fur coat tight around her shoulders. She slices the bright yellow beam through the hanging smoke, tracking it into a dark corner booth. The light reveals three other traumatized women wrapped in tattered, torn silk robes, cowering together against the wall in absolute shock. Move deeper into the concrete foundations, down into the illegal mob gambling dens where the syndicates run the numbers. The unseen camera glides in a continuous first-person shot through a heavy steel vault doorway that has been twisted completely outward from its structural hinges by a massive supernatural shockwave. Jamie the Giant steps into the wreckage, a massive, towering 9-inch muscular enforcer in a weathered black leather jacket over a dark shirt. His face is hardened with a stern, rugged expression as his tactical flashlight tracks across the card room. The green felt poker tables are split cleanly down the middle. Wooden chairs are smashed to dust. In the corner, three unconscious mobsters in pinstripe suits are slumped awkwardly across a torn leather banquette sofa, completely incapacitated by the kinetic blast. Look at the local gravity field. It's completely warped. Dozens of paper dollar bills and bicycle playing cards are suspended rigidly in midair, floating in a horizontal plane, executing a slow micro-floating rotation under the dim green pool lamps. Jamie walks past the floating currency notes, and suddenly, the entire underground room begins to shudder violently. The concrete ceiling architecture fractures, massive chunks of plaster and broken structural wire mesh break loose, tumbling downward through the floating playing cards. The room is flooded with an intense, high-velocity flashing strobe light wash of vibrant crimson red backup emergency lights cutting through thick hanging dust smoke. The spectral camera drifts back into the rain-slicked neon maze. Tracking low along the wet concrete sidewalk, it approaches a recessed brick alcove outside a vintage storefront. The Green Goblin Dispensary. Slumped fast asleep against the cold masonry is homeless man God. His bearded face buried in a tattered fabric tweed coat and a burlap scarf. The camera glides right past him, sliding directly through a shattered glass door frame into the wood-paneled shop. He, a 40-year-old dispensary expert with long curly dark hair and clear-framed eyeglasses, drops down in absolute terror behind his wooden service counter. He's wearing his signature, "I'm your Huckleberry Beige Ringer" t-shirt, holding his hands over his head in pure shock. The midnight black smoke vortex condenses across the ceiling, shaping into a towering demonic silhouette with glowing crimson eyes. It extends long, wispy shadowed tendrils over the rows of glass mason jars, placing an unholy curse directly onto the harvest. The camera crashes into a grimy, dimly lit apartment where Uncle Gabriel sits on a plastic-covered floral sofa. He's a disheveled 60-year-old man with messy gray hair and a stained Hawaiian shirt. And two massive, tattered, feathered wings are spread out rigidly behind his back. He takes a slow drag from a burning cigarette, but the calm is instantly shattered. The back wall of his living room violently fractures inward, splitting the floral wallpaper as a dense, roaring cloud of ink black smoke surges through the drywall, knocking furniture to the floorboards. Gabriel scrambles backward into his narrow kitchen alcove, crouching low in absolute terror behind a linoleum counter, drawing his massive feathered wings tightly around his back like a shield. The smoke demon condenses, shaping a wispy demonic head with glowing crimson eyes that lunges directly down the center of the kitchen corridor, chasing Gabriel as he scrambles across the tiles. The kinetic force of the entity strikes Gabriel's wings, and the camera captures an intense, the overlapping feathers buckle under the cosmic gravity wave, and a high-velocity feather storm erupts. The environment goes completely haywire. Viscous columns of dark smoke begin pouring rapidly upward from the floorboards, defying gravity as they get sucked into the ceiling rifts. The emergency backup light grids flip to a frantic crimson strobe wash, casting bloody, rapid reflections across the flying white feathers in the grimy kitchen cabinets. Gabriel is cornered, his wings are molting, and the air is choking with ash. The spectral camera drops down low, escaping the caving roofs and the smoke-filled corridors. It drops straight down to eye level, tracking along a wet, neon-lit concrete pavement to shadow the true silent guardians of the grid. Walking side by side down the concrete lane are two cats. One solid, sleek, pitch-black familiar, and one vibrant orange, short-haired companion. They move with an unnatural, synchronized calm, their tails cutting through the heavy New York City fog as the wet asphalt vividly reflects the bright green and red storefront signs. All around them, the neighborhood is completely fractured. The camera angle shifts wide, looking straight up from the pavement. The supreme threat of the grid has arrived. Standing towering in the center of the asphalt is the devil himself. His massive, black-scaled body is drenched in a frantic, strobing light wash, his multi-layered jagged horns cutting through the heavy street fog. The darkness surges forward, completely swallowing the spotlight, blinding the frame, and dragging the entire neighborhood down into a cold, silent void. The timeline is fractured, the loop is closed, and the grid belongs to the shadow.
You built the towers on a foundation of lies, looking down from a throne made of glass. You thought the smoke would never clear from your eyes, but the clock just ran out of gas. I'm the consequence you never saw coming, the shadow at the end of the hall. Stop your screaming, stop your running. I'm here to watch the empire fall. The sky is turning black, there ain't no turning back. Where's the pride? Where's the crown? Now you're just a wormhole in the ground, deep in the dark where you belong. Silence is your only song. Yeah, the weight of the earth is coming down, 'cause you're nothing but a wormhole in the ground. I took your venom and I turned it to lead. I fed your ego to the flames. You're just a ghost that forgot it was dead, a hollow echo of your name. The dirt is hungry and the shovel is sharp. The debt is settled and paid. I'll leave